6 p.m. Central European Time. So we're ready to start the webinar. So hello everyone, thanks for joining our webinar on introducing Automotive Suite 2.0. During the session, if you have any questions, please submit them via the Q&A button at the bottom of the interface. Those questions will be answered at the very end, so keep them coming. This webinar will be recorded and you'll receive a copy of it along with the slides delivered to your email account. I hope you enjoy, and I'll hand now over you to our product manager, Miao.
Hey, good morning, America, and good evening, Europe. And if someone who is still listening to the webinar from the Asia, I suppose good night or good morning. My name is Miao Luo. I am the product manager for the automotive vertical. And so I've been working in Finland for over nearly 20 years now. So some say that I'm completely finished. So over the past 17 years, I've been working for many companies, predominantly in the software business. And for the past couple of years, I've been working in the product management. And so I joined the Qt company last year and be responsible for the automotive product management. And of course, I started out as a engineer myself in early days, and I was working for DJI, which turned out to be the Qt company nowadays. So I have fair share of the Qt technology myself. But enough about me. I'm very excited to present you the Qt Automotive Suite, the unified toolchain and framework for digital cockpit HMI development, and one of the most advanced end-to-end solution from concept design to software design to develop to test to deploy, all under one roof. For the next 40 minutes or so, I will walk you through the drive behind creating the Qt Automotive Suite and what problem we aim to solve and how we solve it. Before we dive in, let's have a look at today's agenda. First one is that let's have a look at a bit about the Qt company. And second, we will examine automotive market trend and challenges. Then let's have a look at the Qt's vision and focus based on the market trend and challenges. And after that, we will discuss what Automotive Suite is and how it reflects to our vision and focus, and how we uniquely solve some of the key issues that exist in today's automotive industry. The Qt company is a product company for developing the Qt framework. It is a public company since 2016. It's listed in Nasdaq Helsinki. And today we have over 110 engineers working in R&D. And if you compare it to a year before in 2016, it was significant increase. And we spend about 8.5 million euros a year nowadays for the R&D effort. And that's about 2.2% increase year over year. And of course, as a Qt framework, we offer dual license. One is the open source, the other one is commercial. And since 2015, we decided that the automotive market is growing really fast, and then of course there's a need for us to have a dedication on that segment. So therefore, we created the automotive vertical inside the Qt company. And for some of you, you might know that the Automotive Suite has been released since 2016 with 1.0, and nowadays with a couple, roughly about a month ago, we have released 2.0. So let me have real quick walkthrough on the Qt in history. So, the Qt has been around since 1991. Back then, I didn't even have a computer myself, but really Qt has been, since 91, it has been there for over 22 years. And really, its core value since its early days still holds today, and that is creating application with Qt enables you to deploy cross platforms. And today, Q has been widely used in literally all industries and markets one can imagine, with hundreds of millions of different devices and form factors powered by Qt. Now back to the main topic today, the Qt Automotive. Let's examine the trend and inherent challenges of the HMI development in automotive. So from the market trend today, we're seeing strong movement towards digitalized experience in the cockpit. Traditionally, for example, instrument cluster that is more or less of a mechanical gauges mixed with a digital display are now increasingly to become fully digitalized. Meanwhile, in the center stack, or AKA infotainment, nowadays it increases its complexity due to accelerated need to differentiate the digital experience. And that means OEMs likely to have wanted to add more human-machine interface, more third-party apps, such as mapping service for navigation or music, and connected experience, and so on and so forth. As the digitalized cockpit continue to accelerate, it is important to maintain consistent HMI style and digital user experience concept, since they are the keys in consumers' loyalties and a part of the OEM's brand. So if you look at the right side of the slide, so the implication really is very simple, that OEMs are facing increased complexities to the HMI development, from HMI integration with subsystems and services to the consistencies of digital experience. And all that imply to the important issue, which is the cost. So let's have a look at the IVI for a second here, since it's one of the most complex system in a car today to build, and most challenging task for HMI development on any given car. Today, we are seeing OEMs are seeking ways to harmonize and accelerate the development of IVI. So basically, it's summarized in 3 parts. And first, we learned that OEMs appreciate common toolchain that could be used across the company. And this allows quick development cycle. But obviously, having different IVI toolchain means one will spend too much time and resource to build common features multiple times. And the project changes from building the car, which should have been core product, to spending a lot of time on creating wasteful tasks. Second, being able to build and distribute a common development platform or environment can shorten the round trip between design and development. OEMs appreciate a distributable SDK that comes with libraries of UI assets and reusable across projects. And third, we're seeing also that if a development platform is built upon open source, OEMs can easily extend and customize the development environment to focus on cutting-edge features and functionalities, and once ready, can then be redistributed as own-branded SDK. So at the Q company, we want to build a vision that would not just solving the contemporary HMI development challenges, but also we want to anticipate the future needs as well. So our vision is that we want to give customer a comprehensive toolchain and framework so that customers can have full control of their digital cockpit design and development. Our core vision is really about enabling Q for the entire digital cockpit, from the instrument cluster to the IVI, and any types of screen in a car. We also anticipate the future of having a connected experience and more ways of interacting with the car. So we want to provide more integration and connected services so customer can seamlessly develop harmonized experience under Qt. So Q Automotive, our focus is to offer Q that enables any types of use cases in a car, whether it's for designing a cluster, an IVI in 3D or 2D, whether it's for visualizing rich content in HUD or head-up display, or VR, or even augmented reality, or whether it's for OEMs companion apps or implementing backend applications. Q can help in all current and future needs with the tool chains and complete framework. So with the vision in mind, let's have a look at the today's main topic here, which is what Automotive Suite is. So as mentioned in the beginning, Qt Automotive Suite really is a unified toolchain and framework for your digital cockpit. But what the Automotive Suite contains is the following, basically in 3 parts. If you look at the left-hand side, first of all, it is highly reusable for software components for IVI development. And if you look at the middle, it provides comprehensive offering for the tooling perspective that covers from the cluster design. Also, it comes with the tooling for functional safety. And also it provides IDE or integrated development environment such as namely Q Creator. And also provides profiling tools to identify performance issue. And also it provides debugging live application as well that allows you to do real-time or near real-time debugging. And if you look at on the right-hand side, of course, the Automotive Suite is built upon experience coming not just from us, but also coming from our partners like Luxoft and KDAP. So we're leveraging really the experience over more or less 20 years of experience from all 3 parties, and we created this automotive dedicated packaging. So let's examine the details from this slide. So if you look at on the top, so this is from the first glance, what you will get is a reference invitation as part of the Automotive Suite. So it provides a instrument cluster and an IVI, and the both invitation leveraging most of the Automotive Suite components and toolings. So I think it's a fairly good invitation in a way that you can actually have a jump start when you start your project. So you don't have to start from scratch. And if you have some issues or questions or want to learn more about the tool and packaging, you can start with the Neptune. And but if you look at on the center part of the diagram, so the Automotive Suite is building on top of Q for device creation. The version is 5.9 because we think it's very important for customers to have a long-term support. So therefore we wanted to build a stable version of Qt, but also has a lot of improvements to the Qt, so that it has a best of a bunch, or best of both sides. And slightly to the left, we have QtIVI, which is a standardized API for HMI developers to build apps on top. But also it provides very good, standardized APIs that allows you to talk to the lower middlewares and services, so that while the API does not change, but the backend can be freely adaptable to different kind of backend implementations. And of course, on top, we have an application manager. So that is another strong aspect of the Automotive Suite, is that you can leverage in the Qt WLAN to build multiple process GUI applications, while all applications can be running on a single screen. And to the right-hand side, of course, as mentioned earlier, we have a tooling. We provide all sorts of toolings that allows you to do, to realize different kind of purposes. And for the 2.0, we have added some new toolings. So first one is the Q3D Studio. And then we also want to take care that if you're implementing the instrument cluster, for example, and functional safety is important. So for that reason, we also added QSafe Renderer as part of packaging. And of course, as usual, we have bundled the GammaRay and QML Life, and of course the Q Creator, as well as the Qt providers, all in one package. And for Q3D Studio, let's have a very brief discussion about that. So we believe a truly unified HMI toolchain and framework should also ship with the advanced UI authoring tool for the designers. So the reason is because 3D is now becoming more significant part of the HMI, and of course we saw the need for a design tool that facilitates rapid 3D UI and UX concepting and design. And then for QSafe renderers, of course, functional safety is really a critical path that our customer must cross. So we included the QSafe renderer, which is to ensure that rendering of the safety critical telltales is reliable, and also it is certifiable by the ISO 26262 Part 6 ASOB specification. And this has a little more details about how the safe renderer works. So in essence, the QSafe renderer comes with two parts. The first one is tooling, which is a plugin that is built on top of a Q Creator that enables you to design your cluster with the functional safety as a part of the design. So you don't have to look elsewhere. You can just drag and drop the telltales directly onto the cluster design. But which brings to the second part, which is the safe renderer runtime. So once you've done the design, those safety icons will be marked as a safety. So when it comes down to the actual target hardware runtime, the telltales that are marked with the safety critical will be rendered in a separate process. So that means that when you have a crash on your safety critical cluster, and we can still keep on rendering the safety critical ones. And let's move on to the application manager, which is really one of the highlights from the Automotive Suite. So application manager really is about enabling modulating providing modulation of for the mid to high-end IVI systems through multi-process setup. So it is extended on top of a Qt VLAN, and the application manager enables the teams to focus on own feature implementation for the IVI in parallel. That's providing better developing experience. So for example, developers might find it a lot easier to nail down and isolate the regression because you are developing separate applications. And an application manager also is very robust from the developing perspective. When you are developing on a non-Linux environment, you can still enable single process mode. And once the application is deployed to the target hardware running on Linux, it will just run automatically in multi-process mode. So that ensures you that if you're developing your application on the Windows, you can continue doing so. It brings better developer experience in that way. So if you look at the application manager from the feature perspective, and it basically brings 5 main features. Of course, the first one is a security. So application manager can act as a trusted source towards middleware in order to authorize resource access. So the app can be actually run as a different user, without running the whole application manager as a root. And it also has a IPC manager that directly uses the, kind of leveraging the capability to limit the extension interfaces that each app has access to. And second, it has a complete lifecycle management at runtime. So what this means is that application manager can monitor the CPU load, memory usage, or I/O load on the system, or on the per app based. And for non-essential apps, they can be stopped when the resource available on the system is becoming scarce. And the application manager also has a private communication channel to each application to request state saving or even termination of the applications. Third, the application manager has the application package management. What this means is that it has a very simple package format, so that allows you to easily install or update and the apps at runtime. And each package or app can be cryptographically signed by the developer or the OEMs. So of course, device can at the same time be put into a development mode, so that you don't have to in the development phase, you don't need a signature. And of course, in the Automotive Suite package, we provide a app store, which we call it Neptune App Store, that allows you to test your application lifecycle management. And the fourth is about the user input. So application manager knows best where to pop up a virtual keyboard and how to tell the active application where there is still screen real estate to show the input focus item. So the application manager integrates with our beloved Q virtual keyboard, making it possible to transparently support full internationalized text input for all apps. So if you're using the typical Qt VLAN, of course, every app, if you need a user input, and the keyboard pops up per app base. But now with application manager, you actually have a unified one keyboard that controls everything. And the last one is the notification. So the application manager uses a notification protocol. So that allows to act like a full compliant notification server on a session dbus, while offering a nice Qt-like QML wrappers. So for the system UI and apps. So in overall, the application manager really gives the developer more time, or OEMs more time, to focus on killer differentiations, and empowers the developers to focus on the user experience in apps, and not to worry about the compositing underneath. So if you look at on the right-hand side of the screenshot, this is the current version of Neptune UI. So what you're seeing here is that there's a navigation, and there's also a couple of other apps. But the core, or the main point is that all these UI actually are running on separate process, and it's managed by application manager. And if you look at, and we also have a new version of that Neptune coming out in the near term or near future. It also brings some different aspects. So for example, now with this new version of Neptune, you can actually drag the app and resize it. At the same time, the content is going to be adjusted based on the real estate available. And also the nearby applications will also adjust itself. So thereby creating that sort of a response UI. And then another important component from the Automotive Suite is the QtIVI. But essentially, it's really about the creating APIs with the following pattern. So one is we provide the API exposed to the app layer called feature, which is the green part here. And then we also provide a core, which is the providing the core functionality such as discovery and security that to validate the app is allowed to access to certain APIs. And of course, we also provide the backend support that allows you to implement the backend implementation while keeping the APIs consistent across, so that apps can continue to work even though the backend is different. And of course, with the Automotive 2.0, we've added a auto generation to the QtIVI. So those features or feature that I mentioned earlier, the feature APIs can now be auto generated. So from the interface definition, the tooling generates the QML and C++ APIs, like properties such as values can be now inspected and overridden by some other tools such as GammaRay and Squish. And the code for a simulator that will allow developers to observe and control vehicle data values in the absence of a real vehicle to test on. This is useful not only for debugging but also automated testing. So the gray box shown on the diagram are the only thing what a customer needs to implement. So in essence, the auto generator will take care of the yellow box here. It will generate the APIs for QML or C++. It will generate the backend. And if you do have an actual implementation that needs to be integrated, you can integrate it with a backend API, or you can choose to implement a simulator backend that simulates the information. You don't have the car. Therefore, you don't have to have a car nearby to do the testing. And we think this will improve the productivity even more from the IVI perspective. And QML Life is another great tool. So it really allows you to have a fast prototyping and development developing for the QML apps. So what it really can do is that you can make changes on your desktop, and almost instantly the results will be shown on your target hardware. So therefore enabling really short round trip between the development and seeing the results. And of course we provide the QML profiler, which is another plugin under the Q Creator. So what that allows you to do is, of course, to improve the performance in real time. So it actually gives a really visual representation of your runtime, and you can actually use that and leverage that to identify issues and something you can improve. So many times when you see a performance performance issues, and many times it's about you might use too much of JavaScript, or you might be calling the OpenGL calls unnecessarily. And it's not very easy to identify those issues. But now with the QML profiler, you actually can just pinpoint those things by zooming in to the diagram and go in deep and see the results and debug it. And we also have a really great tool called GammaRay. And this is our partner KDAP has made. So what this does is basically to visualize, to do an introspection of your application, and so that you can even modify or change the properties of your running application, and do the optimization in the visual way. Not only that, it can actually goes to all sorts of Q object-based inspections. Nowadays, with the latest GammaRay, you can actually go to the Q3D and see the model and the mesh, see the triangles. And another aspect is that you can actually pinpoint the resource waste. So for example, if you look at the screenshot here, it actually identifies that there's a transparency waste of 2.11 megabytes. And it even suggests if you use a border image, you can actually save a lot of resource in this way. So it's really, really great tool for developer to use. And then we have the reference UI called, as I mentioned already earlier, that is a Neptune UI. So it's basically it's a digital cockpit in two screens. One is the instrument cluster shown on the top, and the other one is the reference implementation of the IVI, and it has more or less all the features one can imagine in a car. But of course, the beauty of this is that the IVI is running on separate apps using Application Manager. And this is another screenshot of this. And so just to extend how we implement it or feature-wise is that we are now based on Quick Control 2. And with the latest improvement, we also improved the startup time for launching the apps. And of course, we also support the to download, add, or remove the apps, and you can even download the apps over the air. So it's really comprehensive or quite complete implementation, and for you to jumpstart. I think this is something that we consider it's a sort of the blueprint for you to start IVI and instrument cluster development. So SDK creation, it is basically about creating your branded SDK with your own customized project UI and assets and software components as a part of the building on top of the Qt Automotive Suite. So once you have those building blocks ready, you can actually distribute it to multiple teams or multiple projects, and therefore maximize the reusability and also ensure the consistency in your HMI development. And finally, briefly, I want to talk about a little bit about working with the Qt company. So basically, it boils down to 3 parts. So the first one is that the Automotive Suite is coming from us, so we are the technology owner and licensor for the Qt, so that it's basically one-stop shop when it comes to the HMI development for your cockpit projects. And of course, we provide Qt under open source and commercial license. And as a part of a collaboration, we offer technology advisory, consulting, trainings for your projects. Of course, with the SDK distribution, it facilitates your projects and even in multiple setup, and with a huge ecosystem, meaning that if you look at the Google, if you have any issues with the Q related questions, the chances are you already got an answer from the stackoverflow.com. So many of the issues that you are facing in the automotive space are not unique, which from the technical perspective, you can already get answers from many places. And that's the beauty of open source, is that we have a lot of users around the world who may be facing similar issues as you. And of course, from a technology roadmap perspective, we always happy, engaged and motivated to work with you to kind of facilitate the right roadmaps for you for your needs. And this is more about the open collaboration model. And actually, this is, if you look down at the slide, we have a mailing list called automotive@qtproject.org. So anybody is welcome to contribute to this Automotive Suite. But another aspect is that using Qt enables you to, because we are open source, our bugs are fully visible. So it's completely transparent. So while you might be facing some of the bugs you need to tackle with, but also because our bug systems are fully transparent, and I mean some of the bugs some of the bugs might be relevant to you are already being addressed through others. So you can see, the issues are being actively addressed as we go forward. But if you really if I summarize at the end, so if you really compare it to other solutions, so that the car manufacturers have to train their developers to use separate tools or frameworks, but with the Q, there's because of the cross-industry community from the large pool of developers that can really help out. And also you can tap in, because of this, you can tap into innovations, working on projects. So in that way, the cost of ownership is a lot lower. So with that said, it is end of my webinar. Welcome to any questions.
We already got one question here. What is the function of APP Manager in the chat box?
APP Manager, I assume that you meant the application manager. So the function of that is to allow you to write individual apps across different teams. So you might have a team that works for the air conditioning control, or you might have another team working on the navigation. And these two teams can work simultaneously while the application can run independently on a single screen. So if one application has bug, and it will not affect the other applications. So therefore, you can identify already early that what's the issue and where the issue is coming from. And another aspect is that when you are running, when you're developing the applications in a modular way, that means that when you update the IBI, you only need to update the apps instead of the whole binary. So of course, this is just a short version of the benefit, and there's a lot more than that. That was a really good question. Okay, so another question from Andreas. The question is, does the Automotive Suite support right-to-left reading languages and also right-to-left UI layouts? So yeah, so this is more coming from the Q's capability. So yes, the answer is yes. We support right-to-left reading languages, but it's more coming from the linguistic point of view. I'm not so sure about right-to-left UI layouts, but in general, we support many languages today, and any language you can imagine from the Q linguistic module. And for example, if you open up our virtual keyboard, we already support many types of language input. And if for the ones that is displayed right to left, it's already supported today. Good question from Andreas.
Then we have a few more. Is Qt also a source code product the same way Qt is? It's in the chat box. Is Qt Auto a source code product the same way it is? Just a reminder, if you can all submit your questions to the Q&A box. We've had a few for the chat, but the Q&A would be great. We'll answer the chat box as well.
So yeah, so the Qt Auto source code is the same way as Qt. So you are able to get the source code available from the Q.io, and for the most part of the Qt Automotive Suite, you already got those source codes. There's a few things that, from tooling perspective, they're not open source, particularly on the QSafe Rendering, but for the most part, it's open source. Okay, another question from Marco. Where can we download and try Qt Auto? So please go to the Q.io and find a landing page, and then you can read instructions and proceed on the evaluation.
Any more questions? We'll wait for a little bit to give you time to type. There's a new question here now.
Okay, another question from Andreas. Is it possible to import Maya and Blender models in the Qt Automotive Suite 3D tool? So 3D Studio generally supports, today supports Collada and FBX formats. So as long as these formats are being exportable from those tools, then yes, we can support that. And of course, the Q3D Studio is open source. Well, you can feel free and try it out from our website as a standalone, even without the Qt Automotive Suite. But if you are considering developing the digital cockpit as overall, so the Q3D Studio is already part of that. So you don't need to have a separate license on that, and that's the benefit of the Qt Automotive Suite. Okay, another question came in. So what hardware does Qt Auto run right now? So for example, this year at CES, we have demonstrated the digital cockpit developed with Automotive Suite. So that is running on the Renesas R-Car H3. So from the IVI side, we are running on Linux through the hypervisor, and on an instrument cluster side, we're running in the Integrity via hypervisor as well. Of course, we can run on any types of Linux-based system, provided that that it has WLAN support, and so that we can maximize the benefit of the application manager. Great question.
We had someone try to raise a hand earlier to do a live question, but if you could submit your question through Q&A, that'd be great. Thank you. Wait for a little bit longer to see if there's anyone typing any questions. So please use the Q&A box at the bottom of the interface for your questions.
Got another question coming in. So will you provide slides? The answer is yes.
Yes, we'll send you the slides and the recorded video as well after the webinar, so tomorrow. Any more questions? We'll give just a few seconds more. I think that's about the questions we have for today. Thank you everyone for submitting your questions. Thank you for your feedback as well. So yeah, this is all the questions we have today. If you have any more questions that pops up to mind, please send us an email at info@qt.io. We'll answer them for you. And until then, I wish you all a great day or evening, and goodbye.